guys, it's Sam and I'm here to do a little wrap up of my experience at Baltimore Book Festival. So Baltimore Book Festival took place this year from the 26th to the 28th. I only went on the 26th, which was Friday, and I really had a good experience. I wanted to kind of share it with you guys, and if you're on the fence about visiting kind of like a regional book festival, kind of giving you like the pros and cons of my experience at Baltimore Book Festival. So I went on Friday because Marissa Meyer of the Lunar Chonicles series was doing a signing and interview type thing. She was like the keynote kind of for that day. So I went and saw her. It was awesome. I got there a half an hour early thinking that I was going to be waiting in line and everything, and I got a front row center seat. I was tweeting about how excited I was, and it was amazing. The interviewer did a really good job. So it was a lot of fun. There was questions afterwards, and then we all lined up for book signings. This particular festival allowed you to bring books in as well as have books being bought there that you could have signed. A lot of book festivals I've seen do a situation where you can only buy the books there or they're pre-signed or whatever, but this festival had it where you can get them personalized and everything else. So I got my copy of Cress signed, which was awesome. She was very sweet. Really nice, gave a lot of different insights to the writing world as well as her stories and everything else, so that was a lot of fun. I actually have clips of Marissa Meyer that I will leave at the end, little kind of unedited, very quick clips if you want to see any of those. The nice thing about going on Friday was that it was way less busy than it would have been. Obviously, there was a lot of YA going on in this particular festival, which I will talk about more. So there's a lot of YA panels, and it was kind of nice because a lot of the kids were in school, which does suck for them, but I got to, be a part of these panels and be very close and kind of not have to wait in lines. I went to 3 different signings, and I only had to wait in line maximum maybe 15 minutes, so that was really cool. Also in the line for Marissa Meyer, I actually met a indie author whose name is Courtney. I will link all of her information down below. She was super sweet. She did not ask me to do any of this. I'm sure she's not even watching this video, but we exchanged information. She actually is writing a YA novel that's going to be published soon, and she also has written an adult novel. Again, all the information for it is down below. She's won some indie awards and everything else, so if you're interested to go and check her out, her adult novel is kind of a time travel-y novel, which when she started talking about time travel is when I started talking to her, because you guys know time travel is a buzzword of mine. So that's really awesome. I hope to read that book in the future, so like I said, go and check that out. So also while I was waiting in line for Marissa Meyer, I ran into somebody who said they recognized me from BookTube, so that was really awesome. Her name is Holly. So Holly, if you happen to be watching me again, wonderful to see you. Her friend actually also does webcomics, so I will link her webcomic down below. Her friend's webcomic, I've already checked it out, it's very cool, kind of has like a creepy feel, the ones that I've seen, so if you guys are interested in that, check them out. That was awesome, so thank you again, Holly, for saying hi. It really made my day. I was totally not expecting that. Obviously, I'm like a little baby booktuber, so having someone come up to me and say like, hey, I recognize you, was like the highlight probably of my day, honestly. So after seeing Marissa Meyer and getting my book signed and everything else, Courtney and I actually walked around to a few other panels. There was a bunch of sci-fi panels that were going on. This festival seemed to be kind of dominated by the sci-fi and romance aspect, so there was a ton of female authors, which was really cool. It was kind of lagging on the male author front. I didn't really see any. There was no male authors I recognized. The 3 female authors that I recognized, again, were all female, redundant much. So we went on to attend 2 more panels. There was a general sci-fi, science fiction, fantasy panel and a YA sci-fi fantasy panel, and I actually got to see Jennifer L. Armentrout and Diana Peterfriend. Jennifer L. Armentrout does the Lux series as well as some other paranormal series, and she does contemporary. She kind of does everything, so that was a lot of fun to see her. I haven't read anything by her yet. I'm planning on it. I didn't know that she was going to be doing signings or anything, but I actually did get some books signed, and then Diana Peterfriend has been on my wish list forever to read. Her first novel, For Darkness Shows the Stars, is a take on Jane Austen's Persuasion, kind of futuristic, and her second book, which is Across a Star-Swept Sea, which is a tongue twister, is based on the Scarlet Pimpernel, kind of like a retelling of that. So I've been wanting to read those forever, and for her to be there and sign books, that was really awesome. Both of them are hysterical people. So I also have clips of Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I'll leave at the end after Marissa Meyer's. Jennifer L. Armentrout is hysterical. Like I said, it was nice that Baltimore Book Festival was so small because you did get a chance to kind of talk to authors for a little bit, say a little bit more to them than I think you would at a bigger festival, because I was thinking that you were going to be like rushed through and that like you only had a certain amount of time. There was a lot of people that brought a ton of books to get signed, and it was totally fine at this particular festival. I'm not sure if it's like that at every other festival, but that was a ton of fun because, you didn't feel rushed and it was very relaxed. So again, Jennifer L. Armentrout, new girl crush. So there's also a ARC copy giveaway going on. It was kind of confusing. I didn't really know what the whole giveaway was about, but basically you just like it was like a raffle. So I put my information in. I didn't know that there was different stacks to choose from, but I ended up winning one of the ARC giveaways. So I won 3 books. It was very confusing. Like I said, we had already left the festival and then they called me to say I had won hours later. So I came back. Supposedly there was multiple different stacks you could choose from, but I didn't know and I never saw them, so when I got there to pick everything up, they were like, which stack do you want? And I said, I didn't know you could choose from them. Anyway, they kind of just gave me like a random fiction stack, so I'm not sure if I'm going to read any of these books, so this is what I got. I was given The Last Enchantments by Charles Finch, The Arsonist by Sue Miller, and The Curiosity by Stephen Kiernan, I think is how you say the name. So if you guys have read any of these books, I believe they're all adult fiction. I'm not sure. One of them kind of feels like it has magical realism in it, but I'm not positive. So if any of you have read these, let me know and I will give those a go sooner rather than later. Right now, these are going to be pushed to the bottom of the stack because I have other books that I've already heard about that I know I'm going to enjoy that I have to read first. But if any of you guys have heard recommendations of these or anything like that, let me know. So overall, I really enjoyed Baltimore Book Festival. This was the first festival I'd ever attended that was like book related. I've attended like sci-fi things and Comic-Cons and that kind of thing, but I've never attended just a straight up book festival. So it was fun. It was a nice getting your toes wet kind of experience. It was smaller, like I said, so going the one day was perfect. I feel like if I would have gone for the whole weekend, I would have run out of stuff to do. There's only so many panels you can sit through. The chairs weren't really that comfortable. You kind of get the drill. So I really liked that I went for the one day. I kind of got my experience with like book signing and all that out of the way. And I'm really excited to attend more festivals in the future. So stick around if you want to watch the footage of the authors. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, guys, and I will see all of you guys soon. Bye!
I grew up, my uncle in particular is one of my greatest influences, my mom's brother, and he's a huge Trekkie. Huge Trekkie. Like, for example, my uncle, his name is Bob, he has converted the attic of his house to resemble the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. He is so cool. And when I was a kid, and he still does to this day, but he's constantly going to, you know, sci-fi conventions. And when I was younger, my parents also would go to sci-fi conventions in costume, because that's what my family does. And so I remember being, you know, 7, 8 years old, and oh, here's all of the adults in my family trekking off to their cons in full Klingon regalia with the weapons and everything. And then there was one time when one of the new Star Trek movies came out, and of course we all had to go to the midnight opening premiere, and I got to be a Klingon. So I was like, you know, 7-year-old Klingon, and everyone's like, stop smiling so much, Marissa. You're supposed to be mean. Really hard. Anyway, it's a long way to say that I come from a total family of nerds. Well, the idea started with a writing contest. So when I was a teenager, I wrote a whole lot of fan fiction for Sailor Moon. And then in my early 20s, I heard about a writing contest that was happening on the Sailor Moon website. Who's familiar with Sailor Moon? Okay, not enough of you. So for those of you who did not raise your hand, Sailor Moon is a Japanese anime. It was about these 5 teenage girls who all meet this talking cat. And this talking cat tells them that they are reincarnated royalty from outer space. Because why not? And the cat gives them these wands that turns them into superheroes, and they get to run around, you know, fighting monsters and saving the world, which was the best thing I had ever seen when I was 14. Anyway, so I got really into it, and I wrote a whole lot of fan fiction. And then this contest that was happening, the girl who was running the contest had made a list of like 10 things, and you had to choose 2 things from her list and include them in a short story. And the first thing that caught my eye was to include a fairy tale character, because I have always loved fairy tales. And so I started to think, well, what do Sailor Moon and fairy tales have in common? And it occurred to me that they both have talking cats. And so I decided to retell the story of Puss in Boots, which is the story about the cat that wears really swanky boots. And the second thing that I chose from her list was to set my story in the future. And so it was, you know, this kind of Sailor Moon, like Puss in Boots, Star Wars, Firefly mashup thing. And I submitted it to this contest, and a couple weeks went by, and I'd come to find out that my story was one of only 2 stories that were entered into the contest. It came in second place.
Oh, I thought you were going to say only one of two that.
No, that was the whole pile. But I came away from that thinking that I loved this concept of combining fairy tales and science fiction, and I couldn't find that had really been done before. And so I started to think, well, maybe I can write a whole series of science fiction fairy tales. And I had that just kind of, ruminating in my head for a couple of months. And then one night as I was falling asleep, I had a vision of Cinderella. And in this vision/dream, she was typical Cinderella, big poofy ball gown, the whole shebang. And she's running away from the castle, and she trips on the castle steps. But instead of a glass slipper falling off, her foot fell off. And I awoke from that dream and thought, it's Cinderella as a cyborg. And I got really super excited about that idea and got out of bed and started writing notes to myself. And yeah. For the most part, the main characters in my superhero series will be all made up, brand new. But I do want to do, I love when authors take really familiar tropes and archetypes and kind of poke fun of that a little bit. So I want to have the brooding Batman character with all of his gadgets, but kind of give a little spin to it.
Well, we want to see your books made into a show or a movie.
Me too. Yeah, I can tell you the rights have sold. So there is a studio that holds the rights to the series. And they tell me that there is a script in existence and they're looking for a director. So we'll see.
Have you gotten a chance to see what they've done?
No, I've been told nothing. I'm excited/nervous about it. But I really, really, really want it to happen. Not just because how cool would it be to have, your characters up on the big screen, but I feel like if they make it, then they'll probably make action figures. That's what I really, really want.
Onyx and Opal actually does two lights, what I say it does in the book. It actually has the qualities of retracting and reflecting light. I did not know that when I wrote it. It was, no, I didn't. And my publisher was so impressed with my knowledge of this. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, and I was like, but they actually, they actually got in touch with, what are they called? Gemologists? Gemologists, yeah. And they were like, yes, it retracts light, yes, it reflects light. Yeah. And I was like, oh, sure. But no, I think the difference for me is when it is science fiction, I do think science fiction more than paranormal and fantasy is sometimes rooted in something real. Like it started from something real. And so I think it's harder to not jump the shark, so to